The power of the stars is theirs to command. Today, we're magnetizing the Stardrake.
Anvil of War! Conversion Corner!
Today on Conversion Corner, we're going to be magnetizing the Stardrake set from the Stormcast Eternal range. So, in order to magnetize this kit, we had to decide what we were going to do as far as sub-assemblies for painting. So you'll notice that the model in front of me does not have its wings on yet. The reason for that is Ken's going to take his sweet time painting this beautiful model, as he should. It's a very expensive model. When you buy an expensive kit like this, you really want to maximize and optimize the kit, because you're not going to go out there and buy 2 Stardrakes. Some people might do it, but it's really beneficial to just use magnets to your advantage and be able to change out the rider so that you can, from game to game, change the variants. So that's what we've done. So we're going to quickly jump over to the studio and show you guys exactly how we magnetize the Lord-Celestant and the Drakesworn Templar so that we can switch this kit from game to game. Okay, so in order to magnetize the Stardrake, we're going to need to have him built in sub-assemblies. So what we have here is the entire Stardrake already assembled, thanks to Ken. Now, if you want to do it in smaller sub-assemblies, that's totally okay. If it's for painting purposes, etc., then you can choose to do that, and that's fine. The important thing is that the saddle piece, that's going to be glued on afterwards. So the Drake really doesn't come into the equation. So do what you want with it. We have the saddle, so this is the important part, and the legs, the bottom legs. And those will get glued on, if I can figure out how to do this. Those will get glued on like so. You're going to have your 2 torsos. So your 2 variants. These are going to be housing the magnets inside, right there, and right there. And those will sit on the saddle, etc. So let's go through some of the tools you're going to need for this project. You're going to need a drill bit. This drill bit needs to be the same diameter as your magnets. Oh yeah, you're also going to need magnets. These are 3mm by 1mm earth magnets. These are the ones I prefer to use for projects of this size. There's a lot of different magnets out there. There's a lot of different sizes out there. There's some that are bigger and are good for tanks, turrets, etc. Then there's some that are smaller and are good for infantry arms and weapons options like that. So, but in this case, you're going to want to make sure that the drill bit diameter matches your 3mm magnets. You're also going to need a hobby knife. Now the hobby knife is going to be used to just trim away anything that's left over after drilling. As you saw, we're using a drill bit, so that means we're using a drill. We're going to need a drill with this. There are hand drill options. There's all kinds of stuff out there. If you're not confident in using a power drill for this, I will say be very, very careful when you are using your drill. You're also going to need some glue. I'm just using some standard. In Canada, in North America, we have crazy glue. This stuff's really good for metal and plastic, and right now we're going to be doing metal to plastic, so I find this stuff really, really works. It might not last as long as melting plastic together with plastic glue, but it has done the trick for me for years. So we're going to get started. We're going to take our drill bit and we're going to put it in our drill. And we're going to drill a hole in the exact center. Now, luckily, this has a little bit of a triangle, which is really easy to kind of gauge where the center is and match with the opposite side on this, because this has the reverse triangle. The triangle is popping out here, so that is going to sit like so. And when it's magnetized, if it's magnetized properly, it should sit very, very flush. So let's go ahead and use the drill bit, and we're gonna just line this up perfectly. Make sure that we know exactly where we're going to be going. And I'm just going to push it down a little bit just to make a little bit of a hole so that I know where the center is. And also B, you're going to be able to line up the holes on the specific spots so that the magnets line up, because you want the magnets, the more surface area the magnets have to touch each other, the better results you're going to have, the better the connection, and the more likely it's going to stay on there when you're moving around on the tabletop, and you're you know, you don't want to keep it safe. These are expensive models. So all right, so we're going to go ahead and drill these out with the power drill, and we'll be back in a second. And we're back. So now we're going to take the hobby knife, and if you see, I can't tell if you guys can see that on camera, but there's a little bit of flashing left over from when I drilled it out. That's going to happen because the plastic's going everywhere. So we're just going to trim that up and clean it up. Again, the little piece of that triangle was left over, which is perfect because that'll guide it and make it sit flush. But anyways, oh, why can't I get rid of you? There we go. So there we go. Now we have the seat done. And that, again, is going to be one of the most important parts, because this part's going to get glued to it, and then the top torsos are going to be interchangeable. All right, so now we have this one also drilled out. Again, some flashing, so we're just going to clean that up a little bit. Get that nice and cleaned up. There we go. Again, the reverse of the triangle is there, so that's perfect. That's going to line up with the seat, and we're just going to double check, make sure everything's good. And he's sitting on perfectly. He's sitting on perfectly right there. So now we're going to put the magnets in. So again, 3mm by 3mm by 1mm magnets. We're just gonna, I like to separate them with the knife. Also gives me a surface so that I can just kind of plug them in with the knife. So we'll start with the seat and legs. So we're just gonna throw some glue in there, and we're just gonna set that on like so, and we'll hold it for a second or two. Just let it dry, and then we'll slide that away. And there we go. Now you'll notice that I did leave this one. This one is not sitting flush necessarily with the. It's not sitting flush necessarily with the legs where they start. Where the plastic starts, and you could take that apart, re-drill it, or you could just drill deeper on the top half of the torso, which I had accidentally done, so that's why I'm doing that. You're gonna want to play around with it, make sure that it lines up perfectly as you go. So if that's not deep enough, you can always just drill again. It's kind of nice for it to sit in for this magnet to actually sit into the plastic torso and then touch the magnet, because there's less room for shaking also. It's important to note that when you are figuring out which magnet or getting another magnet to put into the top half of the torso, just make sure you are putting it in the right side. I've done it before, not paying attention, or lost my attention on something else, and then have come back and realized I used the wrong side. So we know which side we were going to be using now, so we're just going to peel that one off, and we're going to glue that side into the torso. So just a little dab of glue there, and we'll put that in. Okay, so now we have the bottom half of the torso, the top half of the torso. They are magnetized, and he sits like so, pretty well, perfectly on the saddle. If the magnets line up properly like they do in this situation, you shouldn't have much of a gap between the torso and earthquake test. That's not going anywhere. So that's it. And then you can take it off, put it back on, take it off, put it back on, switch out your variants, and you know, enjoy gaming with more options. So that's pretty much how we magnetize this kit. Now you could go a little further and magnetize all the different weapon variants. You could magnetize the wings if you really wanted to go that far, just to make it easier to transport. You could also magnetize any of the extra little pieces that go on the different variants of models. An example would be the bow that attaches to the back of the howdah that is mounted on the back of the Stardrake. So there's a few other options you can go with. You can get creative with magnets. That's the beautiful thing. The big thing that you want to take home from this is when you are putting the magnets inside the kit, you want to try to do your best to make it so that when the model is mounted, just like that, that there's no real huge gaps or anything showing to kind of really show that you magnetized it. When this is all painted up, you're not even going to be able to tell that it's been magnetized. The only way you'll know is by picking up the model itself. So if you use the right size magnets, you're really going to have a durable model too on the tabletop. When you're moving them around, you don't want the rider or any parts that you have magnetized to be falling off. So it's really important that you follow the proper selection. Do some research, make sure you're using the right size, and the strength of magnet is really important also. Earth magnets are just fantastic. Don't just go to the dollar store and buy any magnets and expect them to really do the trick. You want to spend the money on the magnets in order to get quality ones.
Sponsored by...
Thank you for watching Anvil of War
Please like, share, or subscribe.
on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube.
So today on Conversion Corner, we're going to be magnetizing the Stardrake 3 hours later. So you're going to need a drill bit, magnetizing the Stardrake